Hello and welcome to this week's episode of The Failure Effect, a weekly podcast where we reclaim the word failure and turn it into success. This week we have a very special guest. Her name is Nancy Kairo. She's an executive coach. So if you have Shida Zaroho, she's a good person to talk to. She is also a stylist and a budding author. Welcome, Nancy.
Thank you very much.
So you're a budding author?
I am. I've been working on a book for a little over a year now, and I think I have close to 300 or so pages.
Yes, I tell you, writing a book is quite the task. So what genre? Is it self-help?
It is, no, it's actually a story about my family, my mother and father, but fictionalized a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I look forward to reading it.
I hope so one day.
Okay, so a few weeks ago, I attended a webinar that you hosted called From the Fog of Fear to the Clarity of Courage.
Yes.
And it was such an illuminating talk to listening to you explain all of the things that you've been through. And I think for me, the thing that stood out about you is how much faith you have in that things will always work out. But then it hasn't always been like that for you, has it?
Not at all.
All right.
Not at all. When you said how much faith I have, sometimes I wonder, I mean, faith goes up and down, depending on the season, depending on what you're going through. But yes, I try to put God front and center of my life. And there have been times when I've stepped out in faith and really seen miraculous things happen. And other times when I'm scared, I'm fearful, just like anybody else.
All right. And I remember very clearly from that talk, you talked about leaving your career because you wanted to go and pursue a degree. But let's talk about the career that you're leaving in the first place and why you felt the need to leave it. Like, how long had you been working as a communications professional?
Well, at the time, I was 44 years old, so that gives you an idea of how long I'd been working. And I had just lost 2 jobs in the span of 3 years. And I had to move from Nairobi to Mombasa, then back again to Nairobi, secured another job. And I felt like, at the time, I felt that job was really not, it wasn't very challenging, and it was also I was making less money. There were so many things that I thought were not, beneficial to me, or I felt like my career had gone backwards instead of forwards. Yet now I see that God had placed me in that particular job so that I could see what opportunities I could pursue next in my life.
Yeah.
And it was at that time that I realized I needed to go back to school. I needed to pursue my master's degree because everybody around me was leaving to do their PhD, their master's, and I'd never thought about that. I'd never even once dreamt of going back to school.
Right.
But once I made that decision, with a lot of fear and trepidation, I started seeing things just unfold, which made me very certain that it was divine, it was ordained by God.
Okay, so we're going to get back to that in a minute, but what I'm curious about is I'd heard of you many years, and I am aware of the fact that you'd worked with some leading businesses in this country in the marketing and communications departments. So here you are, how do you lose 2 jobs in I suppose, was it back to back?
Yeah, pretty much.
How does that, how do you deal with that? Because on what basis did you lose the jobs? For the companies shut down? Were you retrenched? What happened and how did you handle it?
So the first job I lost was with Diners Club,
Right.
and it was actually my dream job. I was senior editor for luxury lifestyle magazine,
Diners
the
Club.
first,
Yes.
signature magazine.
Yes.
You know it?
Yes.
And, it was the first of its kind, and we
Yes.
were pushing boundaries. We had a mail order catalog. We had an art gallery. I mean, there were so many things that we were doing with this magazine. It was like more than 100 pages. And I was the senior editor, and I loved the job.
Right.
But Diners Club was a credit card company
Yeah.
and a financial institution. So one day, without knowing it, without any warning, I was actually in hospital. My daughter was sick at the time. She had strep throat, and she had been admitted for about 5 days. So I was in hospital with her, and one day woke up and found that Diners Club has collapsed.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of people's savings were lost.
Oh, no.
And obviously all of us, the staff members had to look for new positions. I was able to secure another job in tourism, which made me have to move to Mombasa, from Nairobi to Mombasa, because that's where their headquarters were. And it was a move that I wasn't ready for. It was a move that, was challenging, and I mean, everything that comes with that. And at the same time, my marriage collapsed.
Oh.
So I was feeling very fragile. I was feeling very fragile, very vulnerable, but I had to do, what I had to do.
Yeah.
And then within 2 years, it wasn't even, maybe 2 years, of being in this new job. It was actually with Pullman's Tours and Safaris. The tourism industry had a huge hit,
Yeah.
and people were laid off across the tourism industry in Kenya.
Oh.
And of course, when you're the first one into a company, I mean, you're the last one into a company, you're the first one to go.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
they don't want to pay, huge
Yeah.
expenses to
Yes.
yeah. So that's how I lost the second job.
Okay.
So I had to move back to Nairobi, look for another job. Oh my goodness, it was.
In your fragile state, and I'm pretty sure your marriage falling apart must have then caused you feelings of failure and loss.
Of course.
Yeah.
Nobody goes into marriage wanting it to end in divorce.
Yes.
So I did. I felt like a huge failure.
Okay.
I felt like I had failed myself, my daughter, my ex, my family, because it's two families coming together.
Yes.
So it wasn't easy.
Okay.
It really was not easy. I was very, very vulnerable, and, often curled up in a ball crying, because
Oh.
I couldn't understand what had happened to my life, where had
Yeah.
I gone wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was very hard.
So how did you deal with losing 2 jobs and a marriage at the same time?
When you ask that question, I wonder if I was really coping. But I guess, being a single parent at that time, you don't have much choice.
Yeah.
Every day I'd wake up and look at my daughter and think, okay, I have to move forward.
Yeah.
My family obviously was a huge help, just moral support, and then praying, really just asking God for His favor and direction, and courage, because everything was very, very scary.
And so you decide you're going to quit. You've lost literally everything, but you want to quit and go and do your master's. Okay.
Now that you say it like that, it just sounds so ridiculous. No, it's okay. So, here I am in a position that I don't really like. I'm not very happy with myself, feeling, a little bit of a failure.
Yes. Yeah.
And I just looked around and I noticed that a lot of my colleagues were, disappearing. I'd
Yeah.
be like, wait a minute, where did so-and-so go? And I was told that they'd gone to pursue master's degree, some of them PhD.
Wow.
And that was the first time I had ever thought of going back to school.
Right.
It had never, ever entered my mind. And like I said, I was 44 years of age. And I thought, oh, maybe that's what I need to do next. And what happened was the job that I had was exposing me to so many people in the development arena because of the way I was changing the publication that I was again an editor. I was changing the publication, and every new story that I'd cover would open another door for me. I mean, I was twice invited to UN in New York headquarters to attend conferences, things that I had never even imagined before. And so it really put a seed in me to want to move from private sector to public sector, to development arena. And that's when I started thinking, maybe I can go back to school, do my master's in something that is relevant for me to switch careers, because I was really enjoying the kind of work that I was doing. We were covering all kinds of subjects. One day it would be, women's representation in parliament. Another day it would be breast cancer awareness. Another day it would be anti-rape laws. I mean, it was just a wide range of issues. And I was enjoying it. I was enjoying it. So I wanted to move from the private sector.
All right. So you still have no money though?
I still have no money. So or at least very little money.
Okay.
I started asking myself, okay, what will it take for me to do this if I wanted to go? And I knew I wanted to study abroad.
Right.
I needed a change, I wanted to get out of the country for a while, and I knew I wanted to go with my daughter. So I just started praying. I tell you, I was praying so hard, Lord, please let me be able to do this and to be able to go with my daughter. So one day I was at a conference, and a lady who sat next to me, I used to talk about what I wanted to do all the time to everybody. If we met, within 5 minutes of meeting me, you would know that I'm planning to go to back to school to do my master's. So I'd tell everybody. I didn't care who it was.
Yeah.
And I mentioned it to her, and she didn't know me. She knew some of the work that I'd done through the publication, but she didn't really know me or my intention.
Right.
But she immediately said, Nancy, I know the perfect university for you. And I thought, how is that possible? You don't even know me. But she introduced me, and at the time I had been praying for a miracle. I remember specifically saying, God, I need to see miracles so that I know for sure this is you. And when she introduced me to this university in the US, the person, she was a Muslim lady that I'd met here in Kenya. The person who wrote to me from the university was a Jewish man. Just see the connections, okay?
Okay.
And
deeply religious, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and he wrote back to me and said, Nancy, if Amina, I can't remember if her name was Amina, but let's say she was Amina.
Yeah.
If Amina is recommending you to this program, we expect nothing but miracles.
Yes.
I mean, that word just jumped out at me in the email. Who uses that kind of language in an email?
Yes.
And this was an administrator. So that's the day that I knew that's it.
Yeah.
This is divine.
Yeah.
I'm moving forward. And I used to tell myself, even though I felt fearful, but I'm going to move, even though I'm feeling,
Okay. So then how did you get, because there's the faith, but then there's the actual
doing.
Exactly.
The execution.
Yes, indeed.
And that's where I think a lot of us get stuck.
Yeah.
We have dreams, and, we can sit and we plan and we, have all these, we imagine a lot of things, but the execution is very hard.
Yes.
And what I've realized is, if I move without having to figure out everything, because if I look back now, all the things that could have stopped me from going are things that I didn't think about. So, if I had thought about where are we going to sleep the first day, how am I going to pay school fees, where's my daughter going to school, how will I get her back and forth from, if I had thought of all those things, I would never have moved.
Okay.
But instead, what I did was, I just decided every day I'm going to do one thing towards my goal. So all these kind of things, and I have many other stories of what happened, that really I can tell you, it's only God.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So you went to the US and then?
And then I found out that, oh, okay, it's harder than I thought it would be.
Yes, yes.
But, and there were days that I really questioned, did I make the right decision? You know, my daughter was quite lonely sometimes, you know, trying to make new friends, new school. We were in New Hampshire, so the winters were harsh.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Oh my goodness. So many things that if I had thought about all those things, I might have said, oh, forget it, it's okay.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll go. But now we're there. Now you know, your dream has come true.
Yes.
So you have to make it work.
Yes.
I found myself in class with 25-year-olds, and I'm 44.
Yes, there is. I find sometimes when you're in a situation that you start to feel like maybe I'm a failure for not have done this
Earlier. Yes. And people looking at me like,
Yes.
do you realize that we're not all the same age?
Yes, yes.
So, yeah, there were all kinds of challenges.
Okay.
And every reason to maybe, you know, say, okay, forget it. Maybe I made a mistake and just come home. But instead, I was so determined. I don't even know where that came from. Sometimes I wish I could bottle that, you know, feeling.
Yeah.
Because I was so driven
Yeah.
that I must get this degree. And I didn't care, you know. Basically, I'd move out of my way. I'm doing this.
Oh, good.
So we had a wonderful time. We had a wonderful time. So many, you know, things that just unfolded for us.
Yeah.
Also, you know, times that we sat down and just, my daughter and I, we'd hold each other and cry and miss home and, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
She was 10 at the time. So it wasn't easy, but we completed it. And one of the things that helped me go through it, apart from prayer, was that I had this image. I had cut it out of Essence magazine.
Yes.
I had an image of a lady, you know, in cap and gown. She's throwing her cap in the air with such excitement. And I said, I have to do this when I graduate. So that picture was in my head. And I did the, you know, I threw my cap in the air when I graduated.
So like a mental vision board.
A vision, well, it was an actual vision board.
Yes.
Because I had the picture up.
Yes.
But also the image would conjure up in my head every time I thought about it. You know, it was a very vivid image in my head.
Okay.
So that also helped me. So things that I think and I talk about in my coaching is that one, talking, you know, really talking about your dreams in a very positive and in the present tense.
Yes.
I am going.
Yes.
Not I am planning to go,
Yes.
but I am going. If you had met me before I left, you'd think Nancy's leaving tonight. Yeah, you'd think she's on the flight tonight.
Yeah. Did you come back home
Yes,
immediately?
yes.
Right?
At the time, I was, for 2.5 years, I was applying for a green card.
Okay.
In order to stay, I wanted to be able to stay and work in the US for a while. It didn't come through.
Okay.
My roommates got their green card, but we didn't.
Okay.
So we had to pack our bags and come back home. So I was home for another probably 3 or 4 years before I got the green card.
Okay.
And then we packed up and went back. So I immigrated the second time round with my daughter. And yeah, it's been a roller coaster. If you ask her, she'll say, well, we've moved too much. I know.
What were you doing in that 2 years in the interim while you were waiting for your green card status to come through?
I was working. I had started a small company here in Nairobi. And yeah, I was working and just hoping and praying that, you know, it would come through. Yeah.
Okay. So everything proceeds at an even pace until you go back to the US?
I wouldn't say even pace.
Okay.
Life has ups and downs.
Yes.
You know? And with every challenge, you know, you have to ask yourself, can I do this?
Yeah.
But then, yeah, we finally got our green card to go to the States. So that was another process, having to sell things all over again, having to, I mean,
your family must have been used to it by now.
my mother will
packing
tell
again.
you, yeah, my mother will just tell you that's Nancy. Yeah, my father was very much like that. You know, may he rest in peace. But yeah, he was very much that kind of a person.
Yeah.
I think I got it from him.
Okay.
My daughter is probably like, oh, you know,
I
tired.
just want to
She was
sit
tired.
down.
Yeah, she's the kind of person who likes to settle.
Yes.
And I'm always looking for the next opportunity.
Yes.
But we moved back to the States. That time round, we landed in Texas, where I had some family members, and I started looking for a job all over again.
Okay.
Do you know, the other day I counted how many times I've moved back and forth and started from scratch?
Wow.
It's 7 times in my life.
And you know, I think the whole feeling of starting from scratch, and especially once you hit, I suppose, your mid-30s to your 40s, and I don't know why people in their mid-30s think they're old, because they have no idea.
They're not.
But there's definitely something that happens when you hit 40, between 40 and 50s, when you start to take stock of your life and how much time you have left before retirement and how do you compete in the job market. And it must have been scary to start again, you know, because by now you're what, 46, 47?
Yes.
Okay, so please, how was that?
And I turned up in the US without anything except for 2 bags and no job, and my family members thought I was crazy, and they were trying to convince me to do, you know, the jobs that a lot of other Kenyans do in the States, which is great. But I was so focused on, no, I want to get back into corporate world, not corporate. I wanted to pursue, you know, what I had studied. I wanted to get into development. So I was just tenacious. I can't even tell you sometimes what gets in my head, and it's almost like I have to do it, and I'm not going to. I actually tell myself there's no plan B, C, D. It's only plan A.
Yeah.
And that plan A has to come to fruition. So within about 4 months or so, I had secured a position.
Wow.
But it wasn't, you know, it wasn't a really great position. So, you know, within 6 months I had moved to another one. Within another 6 months I moved. Eventually I was working with World Vision USA in their head office. And nobody could believe it. You know, everybody was like, how exactly did you get that job?
Yes.
I said, I applied.
Yes.
You know?
It's that simple.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
Although there's a miracle there, that's a story for another day. But yeah, I think I just don't allow a plan. When I'm really, really determined, I don't allow a plan B, C, or D.
Okay.
I don't.
So is this the way you've always been, or is this something that happened to you after your experiences with 2 job losses, you know, and the loss of your marriage?
You know, when I was a child, I was so timid.
Right.
I was timid. I'd stand behind my mom. I didn't talk much. I was shy. I wasn't sure of myself at all.
That's really hard to believe, but okay. If you say so.
People change.
Yes.
And I don't think it was specifically those 2 jobs, because when I look back, there are other things that I've done in my life that were similar. What I can't tell you is I don't know where it comes from. I don't know where that tenacity or that bravado comes from. I really don't. I wish I knew. Sometimes I can no, I don't even summon it up. It just happens, you know? If I could summon it, I'd be doing that all my life.
Yeah.
But there are other times that I curl up and, you know, I can't move forward. You know, I let fear, you know, just grip me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it goes back to probably even high school.
Okay.
That's the first time that I was very determined about something, and I just, you know, I just said this has to happen,
Right.
you know. And since then, I've seen it repeating in my life, but it's not all the time. Yeah.
Okay. So was it smooth sailing after that, or did you then move on over to your next experience of a different sort of failure?
I've had failure throughout my life.
Okay.
We're human, you
Yes,
know.
indeed.
So failure, you know, I think it's a fabric of life.
Yes.
I think a lot of us, for a long time, I didn't like the feeling of failing. I felt like, you know, there's something wrong with me.
Yes.
But you know, there's a distinct difference between being a failure and
Yes.
failing at something.
Yes.
You know, and what I try to do these days is, if I feel like I've failed at something, I ask myself, okay, what has this taught me, and how can I fail forward instead of failing back and just
Yes.
you know collapsing?
Yes.
How do I fail forward and keep on you know moving forward? And I have to also tell myself that just because I failed at 1, 2, 3, 4, I tell people I've probably failed more than I've succeeded. You know, in life there are many things. You know, I failed at a business.
What? Wait. Ah, what business was this?
Well, a number of businesses I've
Okay.
started. I've always had something on the side, you know, while I'm you know, working full time. So some of those have failed. I started a furniture shop, that failed. I started a PR company. That didn't fail quite, but I closed it down after a while, you know. So I think I look at it as just, what next?
Okay.
Yeah, what else can I do?
Okay.
Like I said, I'm always looking at where are the opportunities, yeah? But that doesn't mean that there are times that when I fail, I really do just think, wow, Nancy, you failed again. Are you a failure? You know,
Yeah.
I think that's human also. But I try not to. I try not to wallow in that too much.
Or to define yourself.
Or to
right? That's what
define
I'm
myself.
hearing, yes.
Yeah, I try not to define myself by that, because we shouldn't let our setbacks define us.
Yes.
We really should let our dreams and our ambitions drive us, you know? So that's what I try to do. Like now, I'm starting something totally new, and I'm 65 years old.
Wow.
And some people would tell me, you're crazy, Nancy. But I figure if I just sit back and do nothing, or sit back and do things that everybody expects, that's not me.
Yeah.
And there's still dreams that I have. There's still ambitions that I have,
Yes.
you know? Until in my grave, I'll have dreams and ambitions. So I can't stop at one failure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you keep. It's almost like after a while, once you get your sea legs on, you start to look forward to the next failure. Am I wrong? Because you're like, well, because it stops being failure and it starts being an opportunity to learn something new. Is this
Yeah.
a perspective you would agree with?
Yeah, I still am not comfortable with failure. I don't think anybody is. You know, I don't want to spend money and then it goes to waste, or, you know, try something new and it doesn't work out. However, I try to always ask myself, what's next? You know, I used to always say, next, you know, because there's so many things. There's so many things that people can do, you know. I could decide tomorrow I want to be a surfer. I mean,
Right.
I doubt if I will, but, you know. So the world is just, it's full of opportunity. And it's how you look at things, I think. So I don't go out looking for failure or hoping to fail at something, obviously not.
Yeah.
But if I do fail, I'll say, okay, well, that didn't work out. Why didn't it work out? And, you know, maybe I'm not going to try that again.
Okay. All right.
Or maybe I do it again with a partner, or, you know, something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I try to keep a very open mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when did you come back to Kenya?
2015.
Okay.
So well, my daughter and I were outside the country for about 13 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it was quite extensive. It wasn't Well, at the time, I didn't think 13 years would pass, but
Yes, they do.
they do. And we had a wonderful time. She finished university there. She's the one who decided to come back first. And then I followed soon after. And then when I got here, you know, I started looking around for a job. That time I was what? Well, I've already said my age. The job that I currently have, the full-time job I currently have,
Yes.
I secured it at the age of 61.
Wow.
And even that, for a lot of people, are like,
Yes.
you should be retiring.
Well, I mean, okay, I don't agree, but
I don't agree either. Who said I should be retiring?
yes.
Who said that you have to retire at a certain age? Yes, I know there are laws in place, and you know, organizations have their you know, their requirements. But I don't actually see myself just going to sit in, you know, somewhere. And I just applied, and they took me, and I told them, I'm 61.
And they will find
They
you with
said,
that.
it's all right.
Okay.
So,
Right.
yeah.
So that, I mean, I think that also helps create a diverse workplace, because people tend
Yes.
to think of it in terms of gender
Yeah.
and sexuality. No one ever thinks about age,
Age.
because people have a lot of experience
Yeah.
to give to an organization.
That's
if they've
right.
had a lot of experience.
I have a lot of experience,
Yeah.
but I also have so many things to learn.
Yes.
You know? So I don't see it as, I don't really see myself retiring.
Okay. Excellent. Keep
not
going.
in that typical sense of the word anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So did you find love again?
Oh, we're going down that road, are we? I did actually. Very well, I guess every love is unplanned,
Yes.
you know. Yeah, I did. We were together for about 7, 8 years, but then he passed away.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
But up until this point, thank you. Up until this point, he was the love of my life.
Okay.
Yeah, he I would say he's the first man who's ever treated me the way I think women want to be treated.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was a wonderful relationship. Yeah, I am now hoping to find somebody else.
So was that in Kenya or in the US?
It was in Kenya. It was in
Okay.
Kenya. Yeah.
And people say there are no Kenyan men left who are worth dating. So, you know. Now
Go
then.
figure.
All right. So now you're starting this new venture of yours, the coaching business. How long has it been something that you've been dreaming of?
So I took the ICF certification course beginning of last year.
Okay. And ICF stands for?
International Coaching Federation. So I'm certified as an ICF coach in leadership and productivity.
Okay.
I took it last year when I started feeling like, okay, maybe I need to have a backup plan,
Right.
because, you know, I can't go indefinitely, you know, being employed. So I took the course, and then I sat on it.
Okay.
I sat on the certificate
Oh.
for over a year. I was scared.
Right.
I was like, okay, now what do I do? How do I start? Where do I begin? Will I get clients? You know, all those things that stop us from moving forward.
Yes.
And yeah, I remember it's only in end of October, beginning of November last year, that one day I was talking with my daughter, and I said, I don't know what to do. What am I going to do next? And she just looked at me like, but you know what you're going to do. You're going to do coaching.
Yes.
And I thought, okay. It was the way she said it that just made me somehow snap into action.
Yes.
And within 3 weeks, I had produced my first webinar.
From your perspective, I know what it was like to listen to it.
Yeah.
What was it like for you on the other end giving it?
So I was scared to death again.
Yes.
I'd come up with this, you know, concept to talk about courage and moving from fear to courage. And I put all the, I put the program together, and I actually set a date.
Right.
Okay, I told myself 15th December, you're going to do it, because I didn't want it to, go into Christmas and New Year's. I thought if that happens, then I won't do it.
Right.
Yeah. So I set a date, and then I was able to meet a lovely lady who helped me with social media, because my social media, I don't have any skills when it comes to that. My Instagram page had 3 pictures for over 2 years, I think.
Oh.
So, so I started now kind of putting a team together to help me.
Yeah.
And I announced it.
Okay.
And we advertised it for 3 weeks. I kept on asking God, oh, please, bring us some people,
Yeah.
let them sign up. And I was thinking maybe 20, 30 people. I was actually asking God,
Right.
20 to 30 people would be nice, you
Yeah.
know. And one day, my social media manager, her name is Becky Mwangi, I called her and I said, Becky, stop praying. Don't pray that, because the numbers have already surpassed the 30
Wow.
mark. I said, what we're going to start praying is that God just brings the number he wants.
Yes.
So can you believe it that the day before the webinar, we had 99 people register
Wow.
for this webinar on
That's
the 15th. Yeah. And I was just blown away.
Yeah.
They didn't all show up for the webinar,
Yes.
but I had 99 people express, interest.
Yes.
So because, I felt like maybe the timing was a bit tight and it was just before Christmas.
Yeah.
So I decided now to offer the same webinar again. This was 26th of January, the one you attended.
Yes.
And we got 175 people
Oh, that is
register.
awesome. Congratulations.
Again, I was just blown away.
Yeah.
So it's been wonderful. It's been a wonderful journey.
Yeah.
These days, I'm even, Becky will attest, I'm even, posting
you.
some things myself on Instagram. So yeah, I'm learning new things. I'm meeting new people. I'm helping people. The other day I called one or two of the ladies who were on, who had attended the webinar, and I felt like I hadn't sufficiently answered their questions during the Q&A. Do you know, they were blown away that I was calling them.
Wow.
They said, what? This is Nancy from the web? I said, yeah.
Yes.
I wanted to find out if I answered your, questions sufficiently. If not, can I, So it's just been, a roller coaster, and
Amazing.
yeah, I'm enjoying it.
So has the coaching business taken off as
Well, it's just started.
Okay.
I have a few clients,
Okay.
official clients. But I've been coaching throughout my career.
Okay.
I realized this before I took that certificate, that I've actually been coaching team members throughout my career. There are many people who've told me, wow, Nancy, you helped me see things at a different, from a different perspective. You helped me really excel in this field, or you helped me, pivot to another. So I've been coaching people, not through, not a traditional coaching business, but I've been coaching and mentoring people for a long time.
Okay.
So this actually feels very natural to me, and that's why I wanted to now actually, get the certificate.
Okay. So how do we find you if we're in need of those heart healing services?
I like the way you say that. You can reach out to me on email at hello@nancykairo.com.
Have you ever had the opportunity to help your daughter explore her own experiences with failure?
Yes, of course, as a mother, you're
Yes.
always trying to. And as a mother, maybe we're overprotective sometimes. You're trying to buffer your child from difficult things, but you can't, obviously. But yeah, I have and I haven't, I would say. Because recently I can't remember where I saw this, but about a family that the father actually used to say at the dinner table in the evening, he'd always ask his kids around the table, what did you fail at today?
Yeah.
And not in a bad way. He wanted to know, because he wanted to encourage them to fail, because he
Yes.
said it's through failure that you learn
Yes.
and you grow.
Yes.
Now, when I heard that, I was like, oh gosh, I wish I had thought of that
Yeah.
when she was small. Because I think, and the school system doesn't help, you know,
Yes.
with grading, and you're always made to feel like, "Ugh, well, I didn't get an A plus, therefore, you know. And yet, when you think about it, failure is relative,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yes.
For somebody who is a straight A student, A plus student, when they get an A, they feel like they failed.
Yes.
Yet somebody who's a C student, when they get a B or a B plus, they feel like they've succeeded.
Yes.
So that's what I think I've tried to impart
Okay.
with my daughter, is that failure is part of the process. We're human beings. None of us are perfect. Perfection is an illusion.
Yes.
Grades in school or any other, you know, environment are sometimes not very fair, and they're subjective.
Yeah.
And I never wanted her to feel like just because I didn't get a certain grade in class doesn't mean you yourself are a failure.
Yes.
It's just that particular, you know, test or,
Yes.
you know, whatever it is you're going through,
Yeah.
the experience that you're going through that
Yeah.
may not have worked out.
Yeah.
But I always look at it like it's an opportunity to learn, to become better.
Okay.
Yeah, instead of looking at it like it's a failure.
Right. Because I think you're right. As parents, our instinct is
Is
to
to
protect
protect,
the
yeah.
child as opposed to teaching them how to navigate.
Yes,
it. Okay.
yes.
That's a perspective that I really love. And I am going to go and employ it with my own son as well.
Great.
Because he's 10 and he's getting into that important
Yeah,
grade season.
yeah.
So where he becomes very conscious of his sense of failure.
Yeah.
So just because you failed doesn't mean that you're a writer.
Yeah.
Excellent. So on that note, I would like to thank you very much for taking the time to be with us and to spend time with us. If you have any last words for people who may feel like they are going through a period of failure right now, or feel like they have failed, even at life in general, if there's one thing you could say to them, what would you say?
First of all, I'd say that nobody is a failure. As long as you're alive,
Yeah.
you're not a failure, because every day you wake up, you have another opportunity to
Yeah.
try again, to start over. So I don't believe any human being can be a failure. I really don't. We fail at things.
Yes.
And those things are there to teach us a lesson, or sometimes to actually make us pivot, you know, and move in a different direction. I think it's important to learn from failure,
Yes.
to really ask yourself, okay, what did I learn from this? And how can I apply it next time if I have this same kind of a situation?
Right.
Yeah. But I really don't believe anybody can be a failure. So I'd encourage anybody who's feeling like they're going through a failure, or you know, they've experienced failure in some, you know, some area of their life, that one, they have to have grace and with themselves.
Yes.
You know, they really, we're usually very harsh on ourselves.
Yes.
You'd never even talk to your friend the way we talk to ourselves.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
You'd sit down, you know, you'd sit down with a friend and tell her, look, it's okay. Tomorrow is a new day. Things will change. You can try again, or you can do something totally different.
Yeah.
Why don't we say the same things to ourselves?
This is true.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So have grace with yourself, you know? God forgives us, so why can't we forgive ourselves, you
Yes.
know? And those aren't even things that, you know, are forgivable necessarily. I always look at a child. Why are we not born as human beings? How come children are not born walking
Yes.
or running?
Yes.
Yeah? When you think about, you know, other creatures on this earth, they're born already moving.
Yes.
But a human being has to first just even hold up its head, you know?
Yes. Yes.
And then slowly learn how to crawl and stand and walk and run, which means to me that we're made, it's in our DNA
Yeah.
to grow, to develop,
Yeah.
to learn, to explore. These are all things that as human beings we are made to do.
Right.
And so anytime we fail at a thing, it's only there to help us go to the next step.
Excellent. That is such a beautiful note on which to end this podcast. And I would just like to encourage you to use the email addresses and the social media handles that we have shared if you'd like to connect with Nancy and all of her wisdom. And in the meantime, after you have liked and subscribed to this YouTube channel, we will see you next week with yet another excellent guest.